Oh, hello. Um, so, I'm Vien, well, Vien Danil Pihusana, from the grade 12 Siama Siama Visual Arts class of Batch Alice Reyes Francisco Feliciano. Today, I am all the way here from Lucena City in the province of Quezon, and this morning, my exhibit has finally opened for public viewing. To give a little bit of context on how my work came to be, I'll be sharing a brief background of my work's concept for the audience to become familiar with, so that when they visit my work over there in my alma mater, elementary school, where my work is located, they'll be able to understand and enjoy viewing my work better.
The title of my exhibit is Youthful but Elegant, where my works revolve around the concept of beauty through simplistic display, or in simpler terms, modest clothing. I grew up as a Seventh-day Adventist Christian, where I learned the importance of modesty as a female in my recent years. Since I was a young girl, I became interested in fashion and didn't understand the principle that much until today. So as I was working on my research paper in grade 11, in which I tackled the goal of designing a garment with the qualities of a traditional, conservative, or modest dress, but with an added element of elegance to fit in the contemporary era of dress for Adventist women. Nowadays, as part of the youth of the current generation, we see fashion trends where it does not fit the definition of appropriate clothing for us Adventist girls, making it a challenge to not compromise our Christian values, but at the same time, not be seen as out of date with what is acceptable to wear today. I mean, you don't see a woman wearing a modest Maria Clara passing through the streets or going to the mall during this time period, am I right? And there are some today who find modest clothing a bit too plain for their taste, or perhaps a bit restraining for them on certain occasions. Thus, they tend to lean more on what is popular today. In this exhibit, I present my artwork addressing the matter at hand through a collection of 7 dresses, each having its own dainty motifs, designs, pleasing colors, appropriate fabrics, and silhouettes that are all created within the boundaries of the modest principle, according to the Adventist belief, while making it appropriate and appealing for the youth today to enjoy wearing it. The designs of each dress is inspired by the creation story from the book of Genesis, because it shows each dress' appropriate setting to be worn and how it can be aesthetically pleasing to the eye and educational to the viewers by using elements that represent each day of the creation as the artistic form of each dress. To show that this is indeed created for the youth to appreciate the beauty of modesty, I have 7 models wear each of these dresses. 5 are Adventists and 2 are non-Adventists. All of them are young girls. Starting from the dress representing the first day, dawn, the second day, firmament, third day, sampaguita, fourth day, galaxy, fifth day, misty ocean, sixth day, or the last day of creation, dusk, and lastly, representing the Sabbath, the lily of the valley. All of these dresses and the video showcasing my models wearing the dresses will be exhibited at my alma mater, the Lucena Adventist Elementary School, in what used to be my grade 1 classroom, which is where my foundations of being an Adventist Christian were formed at an early age. I am thankful for the teachers there, some of them became my teachers before, to allow me to set up my work for display so that fellow female Adventist youth within and outside my community can come, relearn, and appreciate the beauty of modest clothing, and be encouraged to share such findings to other youth as well.
Growing up, I was constantly surrounded with my mother's stories about her home and the people around her. Ilocos to me is a different Ilocos from what my mother grew up in. When we go to Ilocos, while my mother is coming back home, I am only visiting. No matter how at home I feel, there is still that lingering sense of detachment, especially since I am not conversant in Ilocano. I have no idea why I was not taught the language, but I am sure my mother tried. I was just not able to pick it up. Unlike Ilocano, Filipino and English were taught in school, so I was able to be fluent in these languages easily. However, this unfamiliarity with Ilocano made me unable to understand what my relatives were saying during family reunions. And speaking of reunions, there will always be that dreaded question I hope my relatives would not ask me. Nakakaintindi ba siya ng Ilocano? Having to answer that question with a laugh, trying to brush it off quickly, praying that they would not ask me further, these make me feel ashamed. I could not help but intensely feel their looks of pity and embarrassment. That I, a child of someone fluent in the language, is completely clueless about it. Perhaps they were already thinking how it is such a pity that I could not understand them, and that it is my obligation to learn because as far as my family tree goes, I am an Ilocano all the way. The aftermath of the many conversations that I have had would eventually lead to my slow detachment from my home province. I would often have doubts if I should be considered an Ilocano. With questions I ask myself, why could I not understand them? Why was I not able to pick it up? Am I still considered an Ilocano? Or am I now a Marikina girl who is hiding under her patched up Ilocano roots? We were given the freedom to choose the topic of our senior high school thesis. I became determined to focus on my Ilocano roots, an attempt to look for reasons and answers on why I ended up in this situation, a 100% Ilocano questioning the validity of her Ilocano-ness. Talking with various people from the Ilocano community, gathering and unraveling family histories in diaspora, and finding parallels of their stories and my own led me to a realization. These narratives are visibly manifested in hand-woven Ilocano inabel. The inabel, as we are all familiar with, is a product of an Ilocano's diligence and patience. One cannot weave without going through the 9 grueling steps just to set up the loom. Apart from it being a representation of the Ilocano's artistry, the inabel manifests the Ilocano values being passed on from generation to generation. These values are then taught to us by our parents, and this is how they raise us. May it be to work diligently or to be prudent with our hard-earned money. Our Ilocano-ness is still evident, even when unfamiliar with the language, because our upbringing is that of an Ilocano. From memory and oral histories, I use the inabel to immortalize my family's intangible heritage as a way to preserve, explore, and address the complexities of being an Ilocano within the diaspora. By interweaving the objects of the past and the creations from the present, my artwork concretizes a family's intangible heritage, and at the same time revisits and reclaims my ancestral belonging. In creating recreations of the migration movements that manifested within my family, in the past 100 sangagasot years, I made use of heirloom inabel blankets. For from the sagot or thread of the older generation's inabel emerges the sagot gift for the younger generations to cherish. With the convergence of familial visuals from the past and present, I reach a conclusion. Looking into the past is my way of moving forward. To acknowledge the things that I do not have, things that are rooted in my family's histories, and to express my frustration of not knowing, thereby allowing me to find closure. That despite the cultural, linguistic, and generational differences that resulted from a century of migration, I am and will always be an Ilocano. At the start, I asked myself, am I Ilocano enough? To which I now say yes, I have always been an Ilocano, no matter where I am or what language I speak. And now I have come home. Thank you for being here with me.
Ang babalat po ay dito lang natin sa Bulacan makikita. Pag po sinabing Bulacanyo, nakatatak po sa atin yan. Napakamahalin po natin ang ating traditional arts. O kung gabi sa Tagalog ay sinaunang sining na namamatay po kasi wala pong gumagawa.
installation work titled Daang Ugat. I am born and raised in Los Baños, Laguna. As a child, I was constantly asked by my friends and acquaintances, "May lahi ka ba?" Especially after meeting my family. Our physical features, small stature, and sponjado or curly hair became the reasons for such questions, to which I answered, "Sabi ni Lolo, Aita daw." With no elders to ask, there was always a disconnection in our family heritage. This project aims to reconnect my family and myself to our origins by taking a step backward to move forward, to understand beliefs, mannerisms, and subconscious traits of the Aitas, and for this to be the start of recalling and preserving our family narratives. In this project, I focused on 3 objectives. First is to analyze the concepts of dances, spiritual and health belief of the Aitas, gathering the changes and adaptations of the Aita descents, and to organize my family's narratives and memory. These then becomes the starting points towards reconnecting. I was able to visit the Aitas of Zambales for a day. During my stay, I was able to experience the traditional ways of cooking. I was able to learn commonalities and parallels between the beliefs and superstitions they had and what my family practices in the present days. For studio works, I incorporated shared narratives and experiences, including curiosity and questioning, confusion and disconnection, and acceptance and representation, which manifests on each clay figure. Parallels in health and belief practices, such as dances and its choreographies. The subject itself reflects as the beginning of a narrative and will be a continuing process for many generations. Similar to my primary medium, clay, both processes involved trial and error and frustration, unexpected discoveries of my family stories, and new experiences in handling and preparing clay, both of which are firsts for me. First time to collect raw clay and learn how to process. First time to sculpt figures using terracotta clay and waiting for the sculpture to dry tested my patience. Building my first improvised kiln, and after at least 8 hours of firing, finally revealing what has become of the mound of clay. The project consists of 5 sculptural clay pieces, a gateway separating and connecting the contemporary and past descents, the pathway designed with a choreography of traditional dances, and the portal representing the past and our ancestors, all of which depict the process of growth towards our roots. Lastly, the course of reconnecting with my heritage gave way to understanding that despite being a far descent of my lineage, the parallels in beliefs and physical attributes evident stands as an affirmation of being a representative of my culture.